Welcome. We're going to do a couple of sample papers to help you study for the certification exam for the DevOps Foundation course. So there are 40 questions in each paper. This is number one. Let me get started. First of all, these are sample papers. They're not actually being executed on the same platform as the actual certification. It's kind of a manual effort where you've got the papers and you can simulate what would happen in the actual exam. So the actual exam will have 40 questions, and these papers each have 40 questions. You have 60 minutes, so you can self-time yourself to simulate the exam. Each question's worth 1 mark, and you're allowed to choose one answer per question. You need to get 26 of the questions correct to earn the badge. Mark your answers on a sheet of paper if you like. And you can also indicate if you're not sure, just like you would do in the certification session. Yeah, like I said, you have 60 minutes. Usually you can run through the 40 questions in about half that time typically. And then you can go back and check the questions that you're not sure about against the materials, the class materials, in particular the class notes or the slides. In other words, you are allowed to have the slides available, even though it's a proctored exam. There will be somebody with a camera watching you to make sure there isn't somebody else in the room, for example. But you are allowed to have a copy of the materials on a separate laptop, so you can do lookups using something like a control find or something like that if you're trying to find the material on in the slide deck. It's an open book exam, as they say, so you can use those materials during the exam. Okay, let's just go through all 40 for this sample exam 1, and we'll check the answers as we go along. I haven't reviewed these questions in some time, so I'll walk through my own logic and verbally as I do these questions myself, and then we'll do the same for the second paper. So question 1. A small group of individuals recently returned from a conference where they learned about DevOps. They can't agree on how to get started. Where should an organization start when adopting DevOps practices? Okay, so this is like at the beginning of a DevOps transformation type of thing. So understand why the organization exists. That's kind of a very beginning step for sure. I like A. B, pick the right applications to pilot. That's a good place to get near the start, but that wouldn't be as important as A for the very beginning. Develop a long-term strategy. That would follow A, so that wouldn't be the beginning. And D, identify tools and training. That's probably the least of the 4 that you would start with. So I would guess A, and let me double check. I want to make sure I give you the answer that they expect. So I have the table. The answers are, by the way, in a table at the end of this document. So I recommend you don't look ahead, but I will, just to make sure I don't give you the wrong answer while we're doing this. Indeed, yes, the answer for number 1 is A. Okay, question 2. What are the 3 ways? So it's a methodology. A is the methodology for identifying and removing constraints. No, that's really something to do with the first way of flow. The key principles of DevOps. Yes, that's true. The 3 ways are principles of DevOps as they're defined in the Phoenix Project book. So I like B. C, disciplined, data-driven approach for reducing waste. No, that's actually something to do with the first way, but that's not the 3 ways. D, a methodology for performing continuous improvement. That has more to do with the 3rd way. So the best answer here, I believe, is again A. Let me check. Oh, sorry, I said B. Yeah, I just misspoke. B, the key principles. So the best answer is B. Yes. Question 3, which statement about SRE is incorrect? So SRE, as you may recall, stands for Site Reliability Engineering. So the answer A, incorporates aspect of software engineering. That's true. Just like the name, it has engineering. It uses engineering principles and and practices for SRE. B, applies to infrastructure and operations problems. That's also true. C, at full maturity, SREs replace DevOps. That's certainly not true. SREs do collaborate with DevOps typically, but they don't replace DevOps. And D, aims to create ultra-scalable systems. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, you have to reread the question. Which one is not correct? So the one that's not correct is C. Let me double check. Yes, it says C. Question 4. What is the Agile Manifesto? Answer A, values and principles to guide an iterative and people-centric approach to software development. That makes sense to me. B, methodology that focuses on making sure software is always in a releasable state throughout the life cycle. That sounds more like a definition of continuous delivery, not agile. So I would say not B. C, declaration of the benefits and intentions of DevOps. No, it doesn't have anything to do with that. DevOps is related to, but not the same as Agile. D, intentions and motives of being an Agile enterprise. That's more about, Agile in the context of an enterprise. So I think in terms of the manifesto, A is the best answer. So let me double check. Yes, indeed, A. Okay, question 5. An organization is trying to overcome the challenges of their legacy silo culture, where teams have been organized by subject matter expertise. What is this organization suffering from? Let me reread that. An organization is trying to overcome the challenges of their legacy silo culture, where teams have been organized by subject matter expertise. What is the organization suffering from? Cultural debt? In an indirect way, I guess so. Change fatigue? No, it has nothing to do with change fatigue. Organization change? That's not what they're suffering from, but maybe what they need. Low trust. That can be a consequence. So, yeah, it's either A or D. This is one that I'd probably say A, but I'd mark this during the search just to double check the slide and look up what would I look for in this case. Legacy silo culture maybe is a keyword. So you might have to hunt around for that. Let me see what the answer is. They say it's B, change fatigue. Yeah, I'm not sure I get that, but here's a case where you better wait a minute. This is question 5, right? 5 is A. I read the wrong question. Cultural debt. Yeah, so that's what I would have guessed. 5A. Okay, good. Question 6. Which statement best describes change fatigue? A, aggressive resistance? Not really. Apathy? No. Finger pointing? No. Exhaustion? Yes. So the answer is D. Let me double check. It says 6B. 6B, apathy. Change fatigue. I don't really like that answer, but this is a case where you might have to just memorize it. I don't really think it's apathy. I think it's more about just being tired of change. So I'm not really happy with that answer myself. But there are some cases like this where, this is why you want to study it, because if it comes up on the actual certification, you need to know what answer they're looking for. So B is the answer they are looking for according to the table. Okay, question 7. Due to a tightly coupled architecture, an organization is unable to increase the frequency of releases for a key service. When releases do occur, they're extremely painful, and the organization's competitive advantages is eroding as a result. Which software development approach could be used to improve the situation? 1, test-driven development. Not directly. Containers. That has to do with packaging, but it's not architecture. They're really talking about a limitation of the architecture. Microservices, certainly refactoring the architecture into microservices is a good answer. That's C. Or D, Chaos Monkey has nothing to do with it. So I would guess the answer is C. 7C is indeed what they have in the table here. Okay, 8. How is lead time defined. Okay, the time it takes for a story to go from being in progress to done. So lead time is, from one point in the value stream to another point. So that does make sense. Okay, let's look at B. The time it takes to complete a full sprint cycle, including testing. That's more like cycle time, the time within a stage. So I don't like B. C, the time spent waiting in a backlog. No, that's wait time, so not C. D, the total elapsed time from the point when a user story enters the backlog until the time it is completed. Yeah, that sounds a lot like A. Let me double check that. A says the time it takes for a story to go from being in progress to done. All right, so this is really looking at just a stage of within engineering and the agile sprint. So let me retract that. That's not as good as D, where it's talking about the total elapsed time from the user story until the time is completed. So I think it's D, 8D. Yes. Okay, question 9. Which statement about DevOps teams is most accurate? A, they are responsible for establishing DevOps practices across the enterprise. Maybe, depends on the organization, I guess. They could take a lead on that. Or B, they are accountable for the development of the deployment pipeline. Could be. Yeah, I kind of like B better than A. They're not usually responsible for the entire, across the enterprise. C, they should be a fixed team that works together on long-term projects. That's definitely not the case. D, they should have shared accountabilities. Well, that may be true, but I think the best answer I would like is A, 9A. Let me check. They're saying 9D. They should have shared accountabilities. Sorry, I think, again, I misspoke. I thought it would be B, they're accountable for the development of the deployment pipeline. That's often the case, but this is a little ambiguous because there are so many variations of DevOps teams. So B is actually a valid answer. Certainly they should have shared accountabilities. So I guess I can't disagree with D, but I would have preferred B. So I probably would have got that one wrong. But be aware that's the answer they're looking for. Number 10, an organization recently held an internal DevOps days. During one of the open space sessions, it was suggested that there be more opportunities for DevOps, security, and other IT areas to interact and share. What sort of opportunities should the organization consider? Team building exercises, regular training, department-specific meetings, or hackathons. All of those sound good to me. Let me reread the question. An organization recently held an internal DevOps days. During one of the open space sessions, it was suggested that there be more opportunities for DevOps, security, and other IT areas to interact and share. What sort of opportunities should the organization consider? Team building, regular training, department specific. So certainly not department specific. That would be out. Hackathons, probably less important. I would say team building, maybe. I might double check the slide in this case. So let's see what they say. 10, they're looking for D, hackathons. Interesting. Yeah, I haven't seen that many hackathons that involve all areas like that, but it can happen, I guess. So 10, they're looking for D. All right, 11, which of the following roles are DevOps stakeholders? Human resources, risk and compliance teams, procurement specialists, or support professionals? Typically not human resources. It could be risk and compliance teams, usually not procurement specialists. It could be support professionals. So it's kind of a choice between B and D. Again, I might look up to see what they say on the slide in this case. I'd probably pick D. Let's check. 11D. Yes. Okay. Number 12, which is not a goal of DevOps? Improve productivity. B, fewer but higher quality software releases. Fewer is not a goal. Lower risk software deployments. Certainly that's true. Improved quality of code. That's a goal too. So there's three here that are possible. Improve productivity. It's not a primary goal usually. That's more of an outcome, but the specific goal tends to be lowering risks and improving quality. I think lowering risk is the better answer, but again, I might double check the slide here. Let's go. I'm going to go C. What does it say? It says B, fewer but high quality software releases. Oh, I'm sorry. I misread the question. It says, which is not a goal. So then I do agree with that, right? B is the least related to a goal. So yeah, B, fewer but high. You don't want fewer releases. Okay. 13, an organization is implementing a disruptive application like the Simian Army. So you may recall the Simian Army has to do with chaos engineering. Which of the three ways are they introducing? The first way, the second way, the third way, or the Phoenix Project? Okay, so the Phoenix Project in and of itself is not the three ways, even though it outlines what they are. So D is not an answer. It's probably more implementing an application. So it doesn't really have to do with flow. It can have to do with feedback. It can have to do with improvement. I'd probably pick C, 13. C is correct. Yeah, it's an improvement. Number 14, an organization is looking to improve real-time collaboration between teams. Which DevOps practice should they be considering? We're looking at real-time collaboration between teams. Which practice should they consider? A, Kanban can help with collaboration. ChatOps, definitely, because you're going to have a lot more communication, and that can result in collaboration. Escalation shouldn't be necessary with collaboration, and alerts, not really for collaboration. So I would go with ChatOps, B. 14, B, yes. 15, which is a characteristic of a DevOps culture? A, siloed teams that work in parallel. You don't want siloed teams, so not A. Long development cycles. No, you don't want long development cycles. C, rigid hierarchical structure for decision making. No. Or D, recognizing the best and brightest for their successes. Okay, recognition is certainly a part of a culture, so I'd go with D. 15. D, it says C. 15, C, rigid structure. I totally disagree with that answer. And I will report that as an incorrect answer. But again, as far as studying is concerned, if you run into a situation like this, you should remember what you're going to have to memorize what the answer they're looking for, because if that appears on the cert, you're going to have to give the answer that's in the system. And it looks like they've got an incorrect answer here, but be aware of that, be careful.